Welcome to Healthy Connections. I'm your host, Tobias Pugsley, and today we're in the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center in the kitchen with Jody and Jan. And we know Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and today we're going to be cooking up some delicious, carb-smart, New York-style cheesecakes that are guaranteed to make your love or special significant other cherish you more this Valentine's Day season. So stay tuned, we'll be right back, and then the ladies will show us how to make up some delicious Carb Smart cheesecakes.
Hi, and welcome back to the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center. We have a great cooking show for you today. My name is Jody. I am the diabetes nurse for the hospital here at Baxter Regional and a certified diabetes educator. And this is Miss Jan. She's our registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator. So when we talk about diabetes and we talk about eating smarter, eating healthier, carbohydrates are the big thing. We talk about those a lot with diabetes. And what we thought would be a great intro into Valentine's Day was talking about a little bit lower carb recipe. Jan has produced for us a low-fat, low-carb cheesecake, which is very exciting. I know a lot of folks like cheesecake, and it's very indulgent and usually pretty naughty for us.
I don't know anybody that doesn't like cheesecake.
I know, it's so good. And so what we've got today are some not only carb smart, but portion smart. And that's another thing that we talk so much about with our patients is not just what you eat, but how much and having that good control. So I'm gonna let Jan take it away now. She's gonna start telling us how to prepare our low carb, lower fat, New York style cheesecakes.
Yes, indeed, do. I'm going to start out with some graham cracker crumbs, and I'm going to add some melted, I can't believe it's not butter. And the reason I use this is because a tablespoon of this only has 6 grams of fat, where a teaspoon of regular butter or regular stick margarine has 5 grams of fat. In other words, a tablespoon of that would have 15 grams of fat.
And so almost a third
yes,
of what a regular portion would be of a natural butter or margarine.
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't want you to use stick margarine.
Right.
Because it's got trans fats in it, which really does a number on your lipid levels.
Really?
And those are going to be outlawed in the year 2018.
They're going to outlaw them.
Yes, they're going to take them off the GRAS list.
Yeah.
Generally recognized as safe. They're going away then.
Wow.
So we should be seeing less and less of that pretty soon in our stores.
Yes,
because
they're
it's
going to
be
have to
good.
change their
Very
way
good.
of doing business.
Change your ways.
Yes. Okay, so this is very low in fat, low in calories too, because every teaspoon of the regular fat of the butter, the margarine, is 45 calories, and for a tablespoon of this, it's only 60.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to save a lot of calories. And we want to save calories because with many people who have diabetes, those extra calories eventually start clogging up the arteries and also make it more difficult for a person to be able to lower their blood sugars.
So you've got some just regular bread or graham cracker crumbs here, and then you've also got your, I can't believe it's not butter.
And now I've put in some sucralose, which is a sweetener. This is a generic one, and it has no calories, no carbs, so, but it's got the flavor.
Really?
Yes. Okay, so mix this together. Here, Jody, you want to stir that for me?
I will, yes ma'am.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to spray, using some Pam, my cupcake tins, because we are going to make these into cupcakes.
Perfect portions.
Perfect portions.
That's the beauty of cupcakes in any indication is because it helps you maintain that smaller portion size.
And that's what we have to have.
Perfect.
Because too often we say, well, if I'll have a little slice of cheesecake, and in reality we have a slice of cheesecake that's about 4 times as big as we should have, which means a lot of extra calories. Okay, so I'd like you to go ahead and divide this equally. We're only doing 6 right now.
Okay.
because I didn't want a lot of excess food because that means food waste. Unless, of course, the guys here who are filming are going to go ahead and eat some of this for
I
me.
bet you, Miss Jan, we're not going to have any leftovers left after today. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, I can believe that's so.
So you want me to just take this mixture, now it's nice and mixed.
Yes.
And I'm going to put it down into the cupcakes and just kind of press it like a little crust.
Yes,
like
press
a
it
little
down
miniature
lightly.
Crust. Okay.
Yes.
And tell the folks, because we've done this before with a couple of different ways, if I don't have time to make the crust, what else have you figured out that works really well?
All right, when time is of the essence, I have used some low-fat vanilla wafers and just sprayed this too, like usual, and then pressed that low-fat vanilla wafer in the bottom of the tin. But this has got a little bit more flavor.
It does, and we've tried it both ways, and we both agree we like it with the breadcrumbs, or with the graham cracker crumbs. But what a great way to save a little bit of time, and also, the now that they have the low-calorie ones out, it works really well in this recipe.
The low-fat ones,
Yes.
yes indeed you do. All right, while Jody is doing this, I'm going to go ahead and start the filling of the cheesecake. Okay, this is going, after Jody presses this in, it's going to bake for about 5 to 7 minutes. It bakes very quickly, just enough to get it to solidify in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and grate the rind. We need lemon in here because we need some flavor.
So use a little bit of zest just to
Yes,
give it that
yes.
little bit it needs.
Yes. And if you don't have a zester, you can use the old-fashioned lemon, the grater. That will work equally well. Wash off your lemon, of course, first.
Sometimes I just use the end of my cheese grater. That works pretty well too.
Yeah,
Doesn't have any cheese in it, by golly.
as long as it doesn't. Okay, so this adds some extra flavor. Then we go ahead, and for this part of the recipe, I'm going to use my squeezer. And to make this easier to use normally, I would go ahead and pound this lemon on a table first, mashing it, and that will help keep the juice flowing. But time is of the essence today. Okay, so we add this in here. And this again is going to add more flavor.
And do you have any thoughts on, can we use just regular lemons? Should we be using organic lemons? What's your thoughts on that?
Organic lemons, you are assuming that they really were grown without any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Additives. I know that
Pesticides.
they
Any pesticides.
always advertise that they're not using any kind of fertilizers and those types of things.
And we are assuming that that's what they're doing. But we all know what assume means. Okay, so do I use something special? No. And if I don't have a lemon, I will bite the bullet and use a little dried lemon rind and use some bottled lemon juice. But I like this flavor and the scent.
And let's be
Take a
honest,
whiff,
you
guys.
like to play, so nice, you like to play with the kitchen utensils. So when you've got something pretty and fancy like that, you like to play with it, Miss Jan.
Yes, I do.
Now
Gotta
I'm going to go put these in the oven, and we're going to
Okay.
bake those off, and then we'll have the filling to go on top of them in just a little bit, okay?
Okay. Going.
Yeah. So you have the zest and the juice.
I have the zest and the juice. Now I'm going to start adding in the low-fat ricotta cheese, which has been pre-measured. And again, this is lower fat because we don't need a lot of excess fat because that's not good for people who are trying to watch their weight and their carbs.
And what's that? I've never seen that before.
This is the only cream cheese I use, 1/3 less fat than the regular because cream cheese is a saturated fat. And if you could pronounce that for me.
I'm not even going to attempt it.
Okay, I blow this one too. It's like Neufchateau.
There you go.
1/3 reduced fat. I don't use the fat-free cream cheese because I can't quite get the flavor out of it that I like. And food is about flavor.
Absolutely.
We have to have it taste good. Okay, so I go ahead here
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with cooking with the completely non-fat cream cheeses. It's just so hard to get any kind of flavor out of that.
Yes.
You know, I've tried that with some other recipes, and it just doesn't taste the same. But I'll have to try this third fat. That looks like a really good solution to kind of give you just a little bit to give it the flavor, but
And
not enough that it blows
you are
through.
not going to notice a difference from the regular full fat.
Nice.
Because if it doesn't taste good, I will not use it. I will tell you that. Now I've got some plain yogurt, and I like this one simply because it's got more protein in it. This container of yogurt has 15 grams of protein, which is 2 ounces.
Wow.
And most of our yogurt at most will have 1 ounce. So if you shop around, you'll find a little more yogurt with protein in it, extra protein. Very good. Okay, then we add in a little bit of regular flour.
Just regular white flour.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, now today I did not have regular eggs. This recipe called for 2 eggs. So instead, because I was watching the budget, I had egg beaters on hand, fresh ones, and so for 2 eggs, I would use half a cup.
Wow.
And these are just regular egg whites with coloring in them. Okay. Then I go ahead and to flavor this up, I will use some of the sweetener again. And we've got 3/4 of a cup for the regular recipe, so we'll go somewhere around half a cup. And again, this is calorie free. And then I add in a little bit of vanilla for some flavor. The recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of it. And of course, I measure exactly. Okay. Now, if you've got a beater handy, you can use the beater to mix this together. Just until it's smooth. That's it.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. And then Jody will, no, don't set that directly on the counter.
No, I won't.
I'll cry.
Hot, hot, hot.
I love my,
You've got your pads back there. Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
all right. So Jody's going to go ahead and spoon this evenly amongst the cupcake papers, and you'll see how nice this looks. It's lightly browned. It's going to stick together with the base. And after we do that, we'll throw this in the oven and bake it for about 15 to 20 minutes until the top is barely set. Then we take it out, we cool it, and then we add the good stuff to it. And the good stuff is going to be today a couple of raspberries. This could also have been some sliced strawberries, or I often like blueberries too because they're deep and dark colored, which is phytonutrients, very good for us. And
For some reason, I always think that the lemon goes really well with the blueberry. So you just get that hint of lemon in the
Yes.
cheesecake, and then you've got the blueberry complement. So
yes,
that's my favorite.
it is a perfect combo.
Okay, so when we come back, we're going to finish this off, and we're going to show them the finished product.
Yes, indeed.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Connections. We've been cooking up some delicious New York style cheesecake. And if you'd like information on this and more recipes, you really need to come by and visit the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center. It's just right outside the hospital, coming up Hospital Drive. It'll be on your right across the street from the hospital. They have great resources like this Carb Smart with a twist, with a lot of great recipes and stuff. And maybe you can tell us some other things, Jody, that you guys have here available at the Rappel
Sure.
House.
We will be providing, obviously, the recipe for our cheesecake that we've made today. Miss Jan's going to get that all printed up for us. And we also have a couple of other low-carb dessert recipes that we are able to offer to anybody that would like a copy. What the great thing is that we found as far as this time of year in Valentine's Day planning and candy buying is a lot of people want a sweet treat. And it is a very tempting time of the year when the aisles are lined with chocolates and everybody's bringing in the goodies. And so these lower carb dessert recipes are really important to folks, and I think it really helps offset some of the maybe anxiety they feel, and sometimes they don't get to eat a lot of the things that maybe other people are eating, or that they don't feel comfortable eating anymore because of either what their diet looks like, or how they are trying to control their diabetes, or maybe it's just the fact that they are really watching their total carbohydrate intake. So we have a little bit of both, and Miss Jan has some resources there that she'd like to share also. I love this carb counting and meal planning booklet that we have available. These are free of charge to anyone.
And they just come here to the house and,
Sure.
and just come in the front door and ask them, "No, you got."
Can I have one?
Yeah.
Sure.
And we go, of course. And it talks about sample meal plans. It talks about food portions. That is very important.
Yes.
These are pre-portioned, so you don't have to worry about it. But some foods you do.
Yeah.
And
You don't
so
want to eat 3 or 4 of them. Just your one.
Exactly.
you can
That's why we have one on the plate.
You can eat 3 or 4 of them, but it'll be on 3 or 4 separate occasions.
There
There you go.
There you
Love
go.
it. Love it.
Okay, so we have finished baking up our New York cheesecake cupcakes. I've got the raspberries to put on the top. You can put more, and if the top doesn't turn out quite the way you want it, you can put a tablespoon of fat-free, sugar-free Cool Whip under
Ooh,
it.
that's a good idea.
Yes.
Kind of give it that extra little pizzazz.
It
Little
does.
pizzazz.
It looks really pretty on there too. One of the things that I love about these cheesecakes, not only do they look good and they cook up pretty easily. I mean, we didn't have to have fancy springform pans. I've always been intimidated by those pans. You know this. You have to make my cheesecakes for me because sometimes utilizing those and trying to make desserts and things that are lower carb doesn't quite turn out like we want it to. So we do have to try and modify recipes. So that's a good thing about using Miss Jan's already modified recipes. She's got that down for you. But the other thing, as far as our cheesecakes goes and our cupcake sizes, it is that perfect portion size. It is, give us the statistics on there, on the serving size.
Well, the serving size is 1 cupcake.
Right.
124 calories, 1 carb choice, which is 15 grams of carbs,
Sure.
1 fat choice, and an ounce of protein.
So we're looking at almost the equivalent of a little 100-calorie snack pack, and you get
That is correct.
the whole cheesecake there as
And it's
well.
got that full cheesecake consistency.
It does,
Tastes
doesn't it?
great.
Isn't
It's
that
real
neat?
creamy.
Yes.
The berries just kind of set it off. It's
All right. I wish I would have had the time to make the alternate dessert that they're going to get the recipe for. And that is fruit on a skewer dipped in lemon yogurt.
ooh.
Oh, it was so good.
It
And
was.
it looks so pretty because you put all your different fresh fruits on a skewer,
Yes.
and then you dip those into
Well,
your
and that's what I was
mix.
going to mention as well. These travel really well. We've taken them to different events. We make them up ahead of time, and they still look good when you get there.
Yes.
And that's a thing that's kind of tough too if you're going to a party, or if you're going to be, going to church or something like that, and you want to take a dish. Sometimes when you show up, it doesn't look like it did when you left the house. And so
Right.
these are really great for traveling and for bringing to different types of events as well.
When you
That's
travel,
correct.
do you go ahead and put the berries on them, or do you put that on there once you get there?
We've done it both ways, but we usually leave them off until we get there
Yep,
so that
that way
it
it
looks
looks real
really
fresh.
nice and fresh. Yeah,
Nice.
that's a great question.
And if you used sliced strawberries, if you put them on before you went traveling, some of it would mush up on the
Get a little
top.
soggy.
And then it looks a little sad. You don't want that.
No.
No. We want it to look as good as it can. So here we are with our lemon cheesecake cupcakes. Easy to do, inexpensive, low fat, low calorie, low carb.
How many
Perfect.
carbs do we have an idea of how many carbs are in each one of those?
15 grams, 1
15
carb
grams.
choice.
Wow.
And even someone who is mature, a female and under tall,
That's both of us.
Kids, well, you're not as mature as me, but they get at least 2 to 3 carb choices a meal.
So if you had a very low carb meal, like a soup, we were talking about soup earlier, then you could also incorporate a dessert because you would have enough, even in your meal planning, you would have enough carbs left over to have some dessert. And that's something too that we talk about quite often. I know Jan does a really great job in our classes that we offer here. We have a full range of diabetes classes that we offer, and she breaks that down and explains that so that people understand it's okay for me to have a dessert, or it's okay for me to have potatoes or pasta. There are so many myths out there about what people with diabetes can and can't have, and most of the time those are myths, and it really boils down to, and the bottom line is the portion sizes and the portion control.
And the choice. You get so many carb choices to spend a meal and for your bedtime snack. Spend them as you see fit. If you overspend them and take in too many, your blood sugars are going to go up.
Yeah.
It is that easy.
Wow.
So it's all about choice.
My biggest shock, I think, today was about the butter, and I didn't realize the difference in the stick margarine. That we just, I guess we're lazy. We just grab it. It's just there. It's convenient. But to not use that, I think I'll start trying to figure out ways to get that out of my diet because
It's really easy to.
yeah.
Really easy.
Well, Jan, Jody, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for
you.
watching Healthy Connections. And we'll see you next week.